Do you ever think about bullying? I mean, bullies don't even think about bullying, do they? It's not like they get up in the morning and consider how to systematically ruin other people's lives. Do bullies even consider what they do, bullying? Maybe they recognize that it's mean, that it does harm, maybe even that it does lasting harm, but I don't think bullying is about the long-term effects. I think a bully's goals are all short-term, if they think about them at all, which I don't think they do. Was I bullied? Not that I ever noticed. I remember that other kids could certainly be mean. They could harm me by thoughtlessly saying and doing things that met some short-term goals of theirs that they hadn't thought about much. I don't think I was the kind of kid who took much of that too personally. I tended not to care much what other people thought. I still don't, which has its pluses and minuses, you know. Was I a bully? I don't know. I remember that as a kid, I certainly could be mean. I could do harm to others by thoughtlessly saying and doing things that met some short-term goals that I hadn't thought about much. I can remember times when other kids took something I said or did personally. Sometimes I was even glad for it, not in a good way. I definitely think about bullying more now that I have kids. I don't want anyone to harm them, and I get the impression that they do care what other people think. I also don't want them to be bullies. I know that they can and do harm others with thoughtlessness and even sometimes with intention. It's the intention that worries me, that I try to parent them away from. It might even be working. The only thing Ishmael does in the whole Bible, besides eventually grow up and procreate and have descendants with whom Isaac's descendants would sometimes interact, the only thing we hear directly about Ishmael doing is bullying Isaac. They shared a father, Abraham, but had different mothers. And maybe that gave Ishmael the motive for his bullying, the way TV bullies always used to be boys from broken homes. And I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Bullying is what side characters do. The main character can't be a bully because we know their motivation and their character arc, and we sympathize and rationalize and explain what would otherwise be bullying as the result of the stress they are under. It's stressful being the main character. But we make none of those excuses for the side character, whom we don't know because the story doesn't have time to make them anything but a caricature. So they're mean, and we don't know why unless the main character will eventually save them from the stress that drives their bullying. And that too will be a gross oversimplification, like they just needed a hug, or their parents are also mean, or they are closeted gay, or whatever. So Ishmael has real side character energy, I guess. Why was he mean to Isaac? We can oversimplify and guess and make excuses, but we never really learn what he wanted, what his intentions were, what were his goals. And yet, there's a simplification that is not over, and that is that he's sinful. If anyone is mean, ever, the simplest and most accurate explanation is that they are sinful. So they have intentions, and that is to sin. And they act impulsively because they have the impulse to sin. And they are working constantly toward a goal of sinning. And by they, I mean we. The main characters of each of our stories is the side character bully of someone else's. So, sympathize with Ishmael. Sympathize with the bullies. Sympathize with people who don't know why they do what they do and probably don't even think about most of what they do and are no less culpable for being so thoughtless and are no less the victim of sin than they are perpetrators of it. Sympathize with people. They need Jesus. And by they, I mean we. You and I are dust and breath, loved by God, bought by Jesus. This podcast is written and produced by me, Ethan Cherney, a pastor at Bethel Lutheran Church in Menasha, Wisconsin, member of the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Outro music is arranged and performed by Mr. Peter Shawy, who is like skilled warriors who do not return empty-handed. Keep in touch. Reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook at Dust and Breath Pod, or send an email to dustandbreathpod@gmail.com. Or you could write us a review, recommend a episode to somebody else. That's the only way other people find out about the show. Now go, do what God called you to do, be who God made you to be, see what God can do with dust and breath and faith in Jesus, his Son.